I was waiting for a sudden name, but that answers it.
Good. Sorry for the delay this evening, but the hour being 7:12 p.m., I'd like to call to order the City of Laconia City Council meeting of April 10th, 2023. Before we go any further, though, I'd ask Councilor Haynes if he'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Joined this evening by City Clerk Katie Gargano. I'd ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Here.
Counselor Susie,
Here.
Counselor Littman,
Here.
Counselor Haynes,
Here.
Counselor Felch,
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
Here. Also in attendance is our City Manager Kirk Beati joining us at council table, and Glenn Smith, our Finance Director. On to agenda item number 7, which is acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. There was one correction submitted to the clerk on April the 10th. Bringing attention to the motion of agenda item number 9 was duplicated under agenda item number 8 was under item agenda 9. The minutes have been corrected, and the corrections are reflected on the city website. So with one correction submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as amended. Agenda item number 9 is citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. If there's a matter that is not on the agenda, no. If you're here to speak to a matter, it's just something, and it's not on tonight's agenda, now would be the appropriate time to just step forward and introduce yourself and
Go Red Sox. Hopefully. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Stamps. I'm the chairperson of the Laconia Human Relations. Would you pass a bunch of these around to me, Katie? Thanks. And there's several members of the Human Relations Committee here with me. So as I said, David Stamps. I'm also a resident of Laconia. First thing I wanted to say, I appreciated last June the raising of the pride flag on City Hall. But I also understand very much that you were operating without a context. And so I appreciate that you just went ahead and did it. There was some feeling in the city that it was an important thing to do. But since then, we've talked about how to move forward with this. So we put together a sheet for you to think about and to incorporate into your thinking. I'll read it so you don't all have to, I'm not going to have anybody's attention now, am I? I should have waited to pass it out. As the City of Laconia's center of government, City Hall is more than an administrative government building. City Hall is a symbol of the City of Laconia itself and all it represents and stands for. Because of this, the display of appropriate banners at City Hall will also be seen by many as representing the values that the city embraces. Both longtime residents and first-time visitors will find banners displayed at City Hall will give them an insight as to what kind of community Laconia aspires to be. Banners can be many different types. They can be affirmational, such as the gay pride banner from last June, and we'd hope you'll do it again this June after following through with this. Awareness, some banners such as Alzheimer's or cancer awareness draw attention to the ongoing need to support medical research to find a cure for these terrible diseases. Celebratory, some banners may recognize the heroes who walk among us, such as our law enforcement, fire service officers, those in our community serving in armed forces, and of course many of our medical and EMS people. Or promotional. Some banners may promote the community-wide events, such as Multicultural Day or Pumpkin Fest. We feel that religious or politically themed are not appropriate and would not be allowed. So we're proposing a general framework which always won't take any power away from the city council. The city council at all times retains approval authority for what is displayed on City Hall, or alternatively, or including the flagpole by the train station. The Laconia Human Relations Committee, however, is willing to take responsibility of initially reviewing applications for the banner display and also for developing a formal set of rules by which to evaluate them and then forward those applications as well as our thoughts on the matter to the city council to act or not act as you choose. There'll be no, because we give you one, that's, you know, it's like a zoning ordinance. It's still up to you. You have to choose to pass it or not pass it. So these are our thoughts, and I appreciate your thinking about it. Like I say, I appreciate all the work you do. We saw another fine example of volunteers here tonight, and you're all part of that same group. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Any questions or anything?
Thank you, David. And any questions? Yes, Councilor Cheney.
Dave, I and I suspect you're well aware, my concern is, you suggested religious or political flags or banners might not be appropriate, but there's a danger of other organizations that I think we mutually would be concerned.
Well, and I think, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, please.
I think that would be something that we could codify specific symbols and hate messages are simply not acceptable, and from what we've been advised, free speech can be limited from when they transgress into these other areas, and they would be specific. So it's not like, and I think it's actually important to have a policy. Even if you decide you're never going to approve another banner, what's the policy behind that? Because someone's sure to ask you. In fact, there are more people. So better to spell it out and have a conversation. I mean, we'll come and attend a public hearing while people discuss this, if that's what you'd like, and forward you our thoughts.
My concern, Dave, was just that we, citizens here, be aware that this is not quite as simple as yes or no. It's
Granted.
And I guess I'm supporting your argument or your suggestion that we need policies or
Yeah.
instructions in place. I am very concerned about that.
And we're basically a part of city government too, so that's why we're offering ourselves as part of this process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Felch.
Yeah, I'd like to see this move to committee.
Well, I think we've got something on the table. We've got the flag policy on the table right now, right? And it's going to remain on the table, but I think this, at least at this hearing.
Right.
But this certainly becomes a working document to be added to
Yep.
our future discussions to put together our flag policy. If you, maybe just, I'll get to you in 1 second, Councilor Susie, hold on. Kirk, can you give us just and for people who aren't aware of this, what's the brief update as far as the city formulating flag policy?
So we've been working with, I've been working with legal counsel just to try to draft something that could be handed in front of you. I think part of the question lies in is, whether it be committee or at full council level, what are you exactly looking for it to do? And then we can take that back and actually formulate this a little easier. There's a lot, I mean, certainly we know the Supreme Court rulings on it, and there's certain guidelines that we have to follow, but looking to see what you're looking to do and how much involvement you want in the decision-making on what goes up and what doesn't would all be factored in. So
Let me
it's-
weigh in on behalf, and councilors can correct me if I'm wrong. I think getting a policy in place in which I'd like the council, not only this one, but future councils, to have a role in making decisions about what flies and where,
Yep.
right? I mean, I think that's important. I think it's important that it maybe not just rest with a mayor, me, or a future mayor, saying, well, I want a particular flag up there, and since it says that I'm in charge of that, or I get to make the final decision, that might be problematic. So I really think it should be, a simple majority of the council to vote on.
And I think that there's a lot, when you look at some of the other places that have successfully gotten these policies through, it leans a lot on going back to a full body of whatever the legislative body is to be more successful. So I think with that little bit of guidance there actually helps it quite a bit.
And so I guess also for a little direction on this going forward is, we've got a couple places where we have flags, right? We have this building here, and then we do have the flagpole,
Veteran Square.
on Veteran Square, we do. And
The flagpole at the library, too.
one at the library.
Lakeport.
Peachy's got one, that's right.
Yep.
And we have one directly in front of the train station. You're not thinking of that one, right? There's a second one, yeah.
Right, we have one in Lakeport.
There's one in Lakeport. So I think a policy there that makes sure, we can ensure that we're covering all of those places that a flag might be displayed, at least during this time. So David, your request right now is for, once again, to have the pride flag displayed here in the city in June?
During Pride Month of June, yes.
And where would you like to see that displayed?
Well, I thought it looked good out front in City Hall. In front of the train station would be good too. But, I don't want to be a piggy about it.
Fair enough.
But,
So I think what we'd like to do, Kirk, if I can just lead a little bit more on this, is can we I would like to see this policy reduced to writing, voted on by the council. So by the time we get to June 1st, we have, which is Pride Month, and that's when we hung it last year, but at the very end of June.
right.
We've got a policy that's in front of us that may not be perfect, but it's a document we continue to work on. At least we can let you know one way or the other how that flag fits into the policy that's passed. Is that good?
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask one. I mean, I think the perspective of trying to promote human relations in the city, I'd just like you to share your perspective as to why it might not have the opposite effect in terms of promoting discord, as opposed to, as you sort of, just like to hear your thoughts on that perspective, because in terms of symbols and issues, I think that, without stating any personal opinions about this, you can just observe that there are, in other communities, challenges that emerge from raising this, and are we promoting the goal of what the Human Relations Committee is trying to accomplish, versus are we provoking a different outcome? And I guess just like to have you speak to that.
Yeah, I didn't bring our vision with
Could you
us.
step right in front of the microphone to make sure that we
sorry.
pick it up,
Yeah.
David? Thank you very much.
But the broad picture, in my mind, is that we're reflective of Laconia. Laconia is the only community in the state of New Hampshire with an official Human Relations Committee. And other communities have looked to this. And why do they look to us? Because through the mayors, the offices of the mayors, and the police, have down through the years promoted the idea that it's better to address these questions straight on. So when we were getting a lot of immigrants in, the first role of the committee was to interface between, for instance, police officers and new Americans coming in. These days, without taking a stand, we're creating programs for people to, I think the more that we do, the more the public is educated around these issues. It's our goal to focus on the positives. So over the years, we've had multiple Martin Luther King celebrations, reinterpreting or interpreting in light of today's milieu what value Dr. King has to tell us. And we're doing an even bigger one in conjunction with the schools and some other things next year. Coming up on May 6th, we're doing a Holocaust remembrance with the temple.
That's great.
And because these things shouldn't be forgotten either. But it's being done with a process of reverence and inclusivity. And that's the difference. We're not trying to tell people how to think or how to act. Our meetings are all noticed, just like yours are. Our minutes are posted. So if people do want to come in, and we had this. Back during a perhaps darker time, we had, we invited, because there was a lot of misunderstanding about what Islam stood for. We had a program one fall, or it was for MLK, where we invited 2 imams from Rochester for an evening program or an afternoon program at the middle school. And quite a few people seemed to enjoy it, but it did create some counter reaction. And so we had people standing with cameras filming our meetings for another 2 years. But I don't think we lost by that. We didn't want to back down, but we also didn't feel like we had to confront them. Why do you know, we're just trying to create a... Laconia has always been a very harmonious place. It doesn't have a huge class structure. It doesn't even charge for parking in the downtown, which I think is wonderful. And to that extent, I think it's part of the human relations philosophy to simply try to interpret the world as we see it in harmonious terms, that includes everybody. Am I answering a question? I may have veered a little bit.
A little bit?
Come on.
I was trying to zero in on specifically affixing to a flagpole or a building of the city, whether that is going to have the effect that you want it to have in terms of promoting harmonious, or are we better off being where we are, is I think the sort of the question that I have in terms of as much as one might support any one of the things that you have on here, are we opening up ourselves for a stream of issues that keep on raising the differences in our community as opposed to sort of the harmoniousness? That's what my concern would be.
Could I just add, Mr. Mayor? Dave, I think for me, and I hasten to say I don't speak for anybody else on the council, I don't believe, or intend. The issue is not just human rights and the Human Rights Commission. It's a broader issue for us to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Councilor Lippman's question is a fair one, and that is, you know, we can say we'd love to see Martin Luther King celebrated. We'd like to see a Muslim understanding and appreciation. Those all are laudable, but there's dangers in many of those things. And I think the council has to look at, do we have to worry about blowback about any of these decisions, not just from a human rights perspective, but who else may be coming in?
My secretary of the...
I just
Carrie,
want to,
identify yourself.
I'm Carrie Chandler, and I'm on the Human Relations Committee. I guess to try to answer your question, Henry, yes, it could have a very sort of visceral effect on anyone who has trouble understanding this community of, you know, the gay lesbian community, the LGBT community, or are fearful of, or whatever reason. It just kind of, it just doesn't feel right, whatever. But I can also tell you this, that the effect it can have on the LGBTQ teen community I'm gonna cry. I don't wanna cry, I'm not gonna cry. Profound. profound. When I saw that flag hanging, that banner hanging on the front of City Hall, I took a picture of that. I've never been so proud of Laconia. I've lived here for 55 years. Okay? I do have a gay stepson. He doesn't live in Laconia. He's doing amazing things in San Francisco. I mean, he's an amazing person. But not all gay children grow up to be as wonderful and productive and changing the world, running for district supervisor for San Francisco. You know, I mean, wants to do good things in the world. I guess I just feel like it's such a symbol of hope for so many people, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
And I just want to be clear that I'm very supportive of what the Human Relations Committee does. I'm just trying to
There
raise.
could be backlash.
Yeah,
and
and
that's where-
whether we're prepared to deal with that is, and whether that's, the net effect of that is going to be that we're viewed less hospitable.
I don't think it would be, that would be less hospitable. I would disagree with that.
I'm just
my
putting it out
opinion.
there as a question.
Right,
Yeah.
and I agree, but I just think it's just my opinion, that I think that it actually, I think we could just be a beacon of light. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Do you have a question for? No, okay.
I'll be back, but another member of our
Patrick, another member of the committee. I think just sort of my response, Councilor Lippman, is I would rather be seen as what we stand for rather than what we run from. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Trish Weatherby. I'm a member of this community, and I'm also on the Human Relations Committee. And I'd like to specifically address your question about the pushback, the opposition. There is pushback by not acknowledging that we are a diverse community, that there are some of us, we do not want to say you don't deserve to be recognized or acknowledged. My role on the Human Relations Committee is to present issues that are in our community at this time and to bring people together to talk about them. They do not have to necessarily agree or disagree, but that it is not a big secret. It is part of our community, and from that conversation, you become more inclusive, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you.
Excuse me for a moment. I'm Matt Souza. Some of you know me. I volunteer a little bit in this area, and I'm on the Laconia Human Relations Committee. I thought maybe a little bit of context might bring some clarity. This began when there was a letter to the Daily Sun by a citizen of the town last year, who would ask a number of questions in the letter, including, have you considered having a Pride Manor? And the members of the committee then heard, I know I did personally, from a number of other people who kind of picked up from that and said the same thing. I want to be very clear. I never heard anybody approach me to say the opposite. Everybody said, that was a great idea, why didn't you do it? That doesn't mean that everybody might have, some issues. And I'd like to say personally, I don't have complete confidence about every single issue under any particular partisan issue under this broad spectrum. I don't think this has anything to do with that. I don't think something like this approaches any kind of a level of anything that might be brought in, all kinds of specific individual issues. It's a much broader thing than that. And so I would only finish by saying that, again, I haven't heard anybody say anything against the idea. I've only heard things for. And I guess, as somebody who volunteers a fair amount, whatever you do, there's always a potential for some reaction from somebody that you might not expect. And I don't think that's a reason not to try and do things. And that's why I'm on the committee, and that's why I do some of the other things that I do. Hope that helps a little bit, and if anybody wants to say anything to me or ask anything, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. You don't have to say anything, David, but if you'd like to, if you
No,
needed to, if you felt
I
like
mean,
a need to
these are
conclude,
all
we
good-
can do it in a minute, and that'd be great.
Yeah, these are all good questions, which is another reason for bringing these questions in. And when you look at this policy, you'll ask yourselves these questions again. And you'll go back and you'll talk to your friends and your neighbors, and say, well, what do you think? What do you think? And out of that, we'll get a policy for Laconia, which we need. Thank you. Thank you all.
David.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Carrie. So we are still on agenda item 9, which is citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. So if there's anyone else here tonight who has a matter not on the agenda and would like to speak? Is that someone waving in the back?
I think so.
Come right up.
I was trying to follow along.
That's okay.
You said you were at item 9.
We're at item 9, so
Item
you
9.
can, you can introduce yourself and
I am a
Move your cap.
citizen of Laconia.
thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon.
No, you take it
evening,
off. We'll take it
night.
off when we're, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Just take it off while you're talking. That's all good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really
am,
appreciate that.
I'm hearily deficient, and I feel really embarrassed to be
I'm
in front
sorry
of
about
you
that.
without my my toque. But no, you were talking about flags, and I wasn't coming here to talk specifically about that. But dude, if you want to do anything to celebrate Laconia and like promote them in June, just do it. But I was going to talk about the trash cans. And the
That's on-
was that on there about the
It'll be the
picking
public
up
hearing.
and
It's on the
It'll be a part of the public hearing.
Yep.
It'll be part of the public hearing, so if you just sit tight for a couple minutes, I'm gonna get to you pretty quickly.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the trash cans, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to vote about the flags in June, do it.
Thank you. We'll move right along to item number 13, which is public hearings. Item number 13A is a public hearing ordinance 2023-194-2 and 194-5, proposed changes to the city's solid waste ordinances in support of the conversion to automated solid waste collection. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the March 29th, 2023 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:39 PM, and we'll wait for Councilor Cheney to return as well. So the public, we'll wait for you. So I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:39. And if anyone would like to speak to this proposed changes to the solid waste ordinances, now would be the appropriate time.
Oh, that gentleman wanted to, yep.
Now's the time.
That was it.
You're more than worthy. Your timing was off just a hair.
Quorum, and I'll take my hat off, and do I have to do the Pledge of Allegiance again? Because I will
No,
do
you-
that if I have to, because I think I missed a few steps. But I did see in your,
Just introduce yourself.
dude, I'm just a citizen of Laconia.
And your name is?
Do I have to tell you?
Yes, please. And we're not super formal, but probably referring to counselors or anyone else's dude probably wouldn't go over so big.
Come on.
So if you just
Seriously.
introduce yourself and you
So,
can.
so I'm Mark Thompson.
Welcome,
I
Mark.
was born in the city of Laconia, and I've been a resident for a long time. I put out my trash many of days, and I know the schedule. I've seen the map, and I'm right at the cusp of when they pick up on a Thursday, and if the weather is crappy, they pick up on a Friday. And if it's a holiday, holy smokes, that's a whole day off. And picking up the trash and having an automated system and not having a personable person that comes and picks up my trash can, during the normal summer, it's fine. I have a little sub lawn between my sidewalk. I have maybe 3 feet of lawn between the street. In the winter, that 3 feet turns into 15 feet with all the snow. So if you're gonna have this automated trash can system that comes and picks up trash can, where do I put my trash can? I can't put it on the sidewalk because the sidewalk plow can't plow. I can't put it in the street. So I'm left in this buffer of 15 feet of snow in the middle of winter. Do I risk putting it halfway out in the middle of the road to let the automated system pick up my trash can? Or do I put it in where a person could pick it up where it's not an obstruction to the plows? So that's my biggest fear, is having an automated system. You take the personal touch out. Having a person that comes and picks up my garbage. I used to get holiday cards from my trash man. So if I'm stopped getting that personal affection of having somebody that picks up my garbage and can, and tailor to the streets, we're not all automated. We don't all have set distance between the road and where we put the trash can, or where we can legitimately put the trash can safely. That's my biggest concern is putting the trash can out in the middle of the street is not common sense. And the fact is, I've already bought new trash cans, and I have to buy new trash cans periodically. So are you buying all trash cans? Is that incorporated into this deal? And what's the long-term longevity of that trash can? Do we have to buy it again? And are we strictly, can't go to Lowe's and buy that? Where do we buy then the replacement trash can? So if that's all automated, that's my concern, is the winter and inclement weather, holidays, and not having that transition of where to put the trash can and how to replace it. If you're really confining us to that criteria, you might as well just have to buy bags and take it to the trash dump ourselves. Just eliminate those service, if that's what it comes down to. But I would prefer to have a physical person where you employ a human being to do that, because, dude, I know the guy.
What?
I know the person to pick up my
Counselor,
trash.
Mayors, no dude.
Dude, I wasn't referring to you in the
I know, but that's just
dramatical.
a respect for the members sitting up here. That's
Well,
all.
Your Honor,
So you don't have to call me that. Just not that.
I will just say that I am not. Yeah, I'm not gonna really.
If I hear you correctly, you're not happy about the move to automated trash, and this,
Well,
and I understand
It's the
everything
street
that you're saying.
pickups in the Public Works Department, in street cleaning, and having a difference between a 3-foot sublawn and a 15-foot berm of snow that is for 3 months, where my trash can has to be put on a Thursday night in the middle of the dark on the side of the street. It's gonna be a hazard. That's my concern, of where do you place those cans? So if you go to automated, it saves money, but you're taking a job away from somebody that literally was doing a job.
I appreciate your remarks tonight, Mr. Templeton. This has been a tough battle for this council to make this decision, and one of the challenges that we had, if you, is actually finding a vendor, a company that would have personnel in the back of a truck. That was one of the big challenges we were up against. So it's a tough decision for this council to make. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I appreciate you, council members, for having this open discussion. I know it's gonna be the taxpayers' money that pays for that. So it ultimately comes down to, do we pay more for taxes, or do we change to a different system and we just make everybody take their trash to the dump? Because you're ultimately coming to that, it's like, where's that knife edge? Do we physically just eliminate trash pickup? Does that give me a reduction of cost
Certainly
and
don't
taxes?
want to do that, but
No, but does that reduce my taxes?
that's,
Because that's what I ultimately come back to, is like, you're talking about a decision that impacts me, that tax a taxpayer.
sure.
So where do I get to make the decision? Is like, do I have a cheaper choice to take my garbage elsewhere?
It's a very delicate balance, building a city budget and making sure that people are taxed fairly and their tax dollars are used judiciously. And it's always a challenge, but these councilors do their very best and are very committed. So I don't think your concerns go unheard. They don't.
But we're gonna have a new cost of new trash cans. So
The
you're
city's
gonna
paying
be
for that,
buying
yes. It's
everybody
not-
new bins.
It's not being, I guess it is, city dollars, it's public dollars that are being used for those, and for the purchase of the new trash bins, yes, absolutely, but it's not, you're not gonna be billed directly for a trash bin that's dropped on your property.
That's
no.
all part of that initial contract?
Yes, it is.
So do I get a reimbursement on the new trash cans I just bought that I can't use?
Well, we try to keep people to about a 3-minute opportunity to speak and
Well,
not get
I
into a
appreciate,
back and
I
forth
appreciate
question.
it. I'm gonna, Mr. Mayor, but I want to give you my second opinion on voting for that flag thing in June.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Public hearing, still on agenda item 13A. So if you'd like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing no one would like to speak to it, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:46 PM. Again, we may take this matter up under unfinished business a little later this evening. We have no presentations. I'm going to forego the mayor's report, and I'll move right to council comments. Councilor Cheney.
I regret that I have a significant list, but
short
I'll
list?
try to, oh,
Significant.
I'm working.
All right, okay.
It's at 3 minutes, right, Mr. Mayor?
We're patient.
I wanted to ask for an update on the Elm Street School driving and whatever. It doesn't have to be today. I'd like to have one.
April 24th, would that suffice, which would be the
Oh,
next meeting?
absolutely, yes.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'd also like to find out where we are with the pets issue. I'm sure everybody'd like to forget about it, but we have those folks who have animals that are not allowed, or at least presently not allowed, and I'd like to know, again, at some future meeting.
You talking about the goats?
Yeah, well, yeah. Ordinance-wise, where are we at? We talked about changing the ordinance or fixing the ordinance.
I think we've voted on that and we
Yeah.
made one change but left the rest alone.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think we need to work on that and make sure we cover all the bases. So I would hope at a future meeting there'd be some discussion about that. I wanted to ask about two things, I guess. Eastman Shore Road. I've had contact from some of my constituents who are desperate for some repair of the road. I realize it's not a public road, but it's, I wonder if there's something that we can do to make or to help those people, and I'm sure there's others around the city who are on private roads. If we can do something pending our taking over those roads, if there's something we can do to ease their pain. I would hope at the next meeting, perhaps the Public Works Director might be able to report on how we could help, if we can even help. One item I have here is, and I was going to give this to the manager, but I now understand he has a copy of this. I'd like the city to look into the New Hampshire Community Power project, which is a number of communities around the state. I don't have, there's 20 so far, who have joined a cooperative for power purposes. And I'd like the manager to look into that and report back to this council on, you know, where we're at and what we could do to participate in that project.
I think that's a good suggestion. I noticed that the city manager has been taking copious notes as you were speaking, which is great. And I share with you a desire to take a look at the community power options for the city.
Could you pass that to the mayor?
Thank you. And I would encourage you too, that I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if issues need to be formally sent to a committee. If you have a concern about ordinances surrounding pets, you know, next time a government operations and ordinances meet, I mean, I don't think it has to, I don't think there's a directive you need. If you think it's an issue that needs to be discussed, I encourage you to bring it up and then bring it back to the full
And I'm
council.
prepared to discuss it at that committee.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't let it slide on.
I will call a meeting soon.
I would appreciate that. Last item I have, Mr. Mayor, is I'd like to have the council instruct the city manager to seek legal advice about what decisions are being made by the diocese regarding Holy Trinity or the
St.
church.
Joseph's.
St. Joseph's Church. I understand sort of secondhand that some legal things have occurred. I'd like the manager to look into where the diocese is as a legal matter and where we're at as a legal matter, because I don't want this to get away from us if I can avoid that. So I'd ask that the manager consult with council and report back to
in regards to the status of an application that's been sent to the city for demolition, which we know is maybe 3 years old right now,
Yeah.
or thereabouts.
Already approved.
among other things. And what can we do? Someone told me those applications are indeterminate length. And maybe we ought to look at our ordinances about that as well. But I'm just asking that we talk to council and find out what our rights are and where we stand.
You're looking for, if I hear you correctly, a general update with maybe some analysis as far as where the application stands from the Mitchell Group.
Thank you.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay, that's great.
Good.
Good. You got enough
Got it.
information,
Yep,
Kurt?
I got enough information.
We move right along, keep going on city. Thank you, Counselor Shan.
Thank you. I see the fire chiefs here. One of the areas that I am becoming concerned about is inspections. And I've seen a few places recently, people have called me and said, what about? I was hoping the fire chief might tell us what the status is of his search for an inspector I think a deputy chief or?
Deputy, he has some good news for you, so you can.
Well, I'd be thrilled to hear that.
So do we want to hear that now, or should, I'm happy to bring him in.
Whichever you think is best.
Chief, are you here for the duration of the meeting in regards to the, okay. So maybe at that point, you can
Sure,
fill us in as
that's
well.
fine.
Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay, great.
And I think you'll be thrilled to hear that's.
I'm gonna start scratching things.
We operate well under a tax cap. We ought to have an issue cap for you, Counselor Cheney, sometimes.
Said 3 minutes earlier.
I know. Are you finished, really? I don't mean to.
I am.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah, of course. Counselor Susie.
I just wanted to let you know, I will call a meeting of the Committee for Operations and Ordinances to discuss
Goats?
demolition
Oh,
permits
yes, right, good.
and pets, okay? I'd like to add on to that request to the city manager on the legal side for the demolition permits and what other options, I think that's what your question was, any other legal options the city has to stay included into this situation.
Okay. Yep. Okay, great, Counselor. Any other council comments from Counselor Susie? No? Okay.
I have
you
one.
left, Counselor Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not show and tell, but I was just flipping through the AAA Explorer, and I come across the Coffee Festival, New England Coffee Festival for downtown, and I thought,
Kidding me?
no, it's right there.
Oh, please.
And I thought that was just, and I said to myself, finally, this is becoming a designation, an area for designation. And my compliments to the folks that put it on, and I guess there's going to be a couple other activities that are going to go with it. So I understand there's a steeplechase, and there's going to be an artist exhibit. So I guess May 20th is going to be well-rounded day for the city, and
It'll be a good day.
it's good for us, good for the businesses. Also, just quickly, Mayor, I was, and Councilor Cheney alluded to it, that we're searching for a deputy chief, but it was nice to read that we have a full complement of staff as far as firemen are concerned, and I think the former chief and the present chief should be thanked. And look at it back at some of the challenges we've had with the fire department, not challenges with them, but staffing-wise, I think the council's come a long way, and I thank my fellow councilors for finally this, and I'm hoping that the city employees, not only the fire department, know that this council has, and I only speak for myself, but we have their backs. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other council comments? I'm afraid to look right, because I'm afraid Counselor Cheney forgot something. Do we have any committee reports? No? Committee reports? Liaison reports?
Several reports. I'm kidding.
It's okay. It's okay. I got your back.
Yeah,
You'll be just fine. Okay. Right now, we have no further liaison reports, or council reports, reports either, right? So we can move on to item number 19, agenda item. Citizens request to comment on current agenda items. So if there's a current agenda item and someone's here who would like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. Karen, I see you got a couple of things. Would you like to speak to? Yeah. You're welcome to. No pressure. Okay. You good? Okay. All right. City managers report under agenda item number 20.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Don't drag this out.
Let's not drag this.
No more oxygen in the room because of Janie.
About 90 seconds.
We're all gasping for air.
Our financial and operational trends report, you'll see the building construction numbers ended at 58.5 million, so just under 10 million above last year. That gives us, when we factor that into our tax cap numbers, just for how we see how this gets formulated in, that's about $1 million towards the tax cap number that we use, is in that 140,000 above last year. So even though we had a large increase in the overall building, where the tax rate went down, it doesn't, doesn't equate out directly for that number for number, but still good numbers for us to work with. Fire numbers are pretty normal. Public assistance data, as you see, was a significantly large month. Our net cost is working fine where we need to because we were able to get some reimbursements. Through the first 2 weeks of April, we're not seeing this spike that we're seeing right now in March. Not that we won't see it over the next 2 weeks, but at least we're going back into a direction that we can handle.
Just a question, briefly. You don't have to go too deep into the weeds on this. Is this jump in the public assistance have to do with the ERAP, the termination of the ERAP that people are?
Absolutely.
That's it, right?
And so what we saw was the jump in the last 2 weeks of March as those notices started coming out, and there was a need to make other arrangements amongst that population. And now it's beginning to level out a bit.
Do you know how many people we have housed in hotels or motels?
In Laconia, there's 32 families, whether it be individual or families that don't have it broken down, in our hotels. 27 of them would be classified as Laconia responsibilities. So if they were, in theory, the rest of them were to go back to their own communities, we wouldn't be responsible for them. But if they stay here, then we're gonna end up being responsible. What that looks like outside of here in other hotels and other communities that are Laconia responsibility, that number we don't necessarily have unless you have that.
I did not.
Yeah, it's not a number we've seen,
Okay. So those,
it's an answer, but not a full picture answer.
so when, with the urgency rental assistance program terminating for individuals, what date? Is it May 1st? Families in June?
April for individuals and June with, if you have children.
Okay, so if theoretically all those not receiving this benefit any longer would be turned out.
Yes,
Oh,
and
so
there,
paying
yeah,
their own
yes,
way,
yep.
right? Okay, all right, okay, thanks, that's all I had.
Same with fire, police department numbers are increasing, but, pretty straightforward there, and I think we can go all the way down through. Property tax collection, as we'll see, is, we're at over 99% right now, which, when we look back to where we were in other years, that's actually higher percentage-wise, so we're doing well there. And motor vehicle registration is where we would expect it. Overtime numbers, I'm not gonna break them down too far, but I think we'll start to see, Councilor Haynes brought up about, we're seeing police, fire being more fully staffed. See that actually, in a positive way, affect some of our overtime numbers, so I would expect to see those stabilize out. Parks uses, standard, impact fees. So the numbers are there for impact fees, and we discussed impact fees a little bit at the last meeting, and I'm putting together a little package. I'll send out some more information. But one of the things that came up was, are we using these numbers, or are these dollar figures? So we reached out to all the department heads that are affected by the impact fees, said, you have money in there, is it being prepared for something? We don't want it to be put in there just as a piggy bank. We want that to, to be in there and to be used to offset some of the cost as it was intended to do. they only have 6 years to use it, so we can't hold it forever, but we wanted to make sure that it was in there. And each department either had uses that they're preparing to spend it on or didn't. And if they're not, we're working with them on actually using some of the fees, and see some of that through the budget cycle next time and through some end of the year projects. So we are addressing it. There was a few questions about the ability to waive some of these fees. It gets a little bit complicated, but I did take our ordinance, broke it down a little bit, and I will share that with you so you can see if there's any questions on that. But we are addressing those issues. The trust balances haven't really changed too much from last month. We haven't dipped into them, so we haven't, they're really haven't changed too much. Code statistics are there. You can see that year-to-date, we did 673 building permits, as opposed to the end of last year at 692. So we were a little bit under in what we did for building permits, but our numbers were almost $10 million higher. Boat taxes have not really gone up yet. Well, we're still waiting for people to start registering their boats, but with this week, hopefully that jumps out. Revenues is above where we would expect, so in a good position there, and expenditures are under where we would expect to be, so both of those lines are going well. No real big swings in the ambulance EMS billing this month. They're pretty much standard as to where we would expect to be at this time. Hopefully, we're done with our storm costs, and that also played out pretty well this year. And we stayed in the positive for our costs for the year. That is all I have on my operational trends. I don't have any other updates for you, so unless you have any questions that I can help you with.
I have a couple now.
Yes, go right ahead.
Kurt, I sent you an email in reference to the sidewalk, or the need for a sidewalk on Lower Court Street, and also the district parking. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at,
Was it a crosswalk or a sidewalk?
no, crosswalk.
A crosswalk, okay, that's what I had. And I had, so my question was, are you looking down in the Durkee Addison Street area to get
Yes.
across there? Okay. Yeah, we have not looked into it yet. We'll,
Okay.
we'll take a look at that. We started to look at the Academy Square
Okay.
parking issue going around. We looked at it as it was coming into winter, so now that it's
Right.
melted and we can.
That's
we're
why I
gonna
brought it up.
Yeah, we'll readdress that and get it and take a look at it. When we were down there looking at it, even when there wasn't much snow, you can see the issue is the backing out of cars from the court side into where the parking is on the non-court side of Academy Square as you go around. So we'll look into that a little more.
Okay. One more quick one. Do you have any update on Briarcrest? Or, I think it's Lakemont, the sewer leak?
I know they were continuing to work on it today.
Gonna be a late night.
So they're still working.
Okay.
So what he's getting into, I emailed him as the ward counselor. There was a sewer leak in the Briarcrest area. It was noticed relatively quickly, thank goodness. They were able to get out on Sunday and start working on it, and Busby's been there all day to try to find the exact break and where it is and make the repairs.
Okay, just one quick question. Is that a private sewer system, or is that the city system?
City.
It's a city system? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Of course, yeah. All right, thank you, Kirk. Any other questions for Kirk before we can move forward here? All right, let's move right along to agenda item number 21, which is our new business. 21A is a temporary traffic order 2023-06, the Lake City Steeplechase 5K. Laconia Historic Old Museum and Museum Society is requesting approval of a temporary traffic order in conjunction with the Lake City Steeplechase 5K. This event is scheduled for Saturday, May 20th, to bring awareness and challenges facing two churches that begin and end the 5K, the United Baptist Church in Lakeport and St. Joseph Church in downtown here. Majority of the 5K races of the 5K takes place on the WOW Trail and city sidewalks. However, participants will be crossing some streets. Event organizers have agreed to provide volunteers to keep an eye on these crossings to ensure safety of the runners and walkers. Other than the WOW Trail, participants will be using city sidewalks. The only street that will be closed is Park Street from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. to prevent traffic while participants gather in the vicinity of the United Baptist Church for the starting line of the race. Event organizers have agreed to speak with residents of Park Street prior to the event to inform them of the street closing during that time frame. 5K will conclude at the finish line located in the city's parking lot behind St. Joseph Church, with refreshments provided by the St. Joseph Church Preservation Society. Please note, this is the same time scheduled during the same weekend as the New England Coffee Festival. Tara Shore has been here right along this evening. Happy to answer any questions if you have them. But right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to approve temporary traffic order 2023-06 for the Lake City Steeplechase 5K as presented and to waive city fees associated with the event. So made by Counselor Haynes, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there further discussion on this motion?
Just one quick one, Mayor. I noticed that there's going to be an opportunity to view the United Baptist Church. I would suggest that the citizens and the council members, if they have a chance, that that is a magnificent structure, and it's part of Laconia and Lakeport history. And if you get a chance to view it, it's a beautiful church.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Item number 21B. That's all the time. Mix them up. Item 21B, temporary traffic order 2023-04 New England Coffee Festival. This year's New England Coffee Festival is scheduled for May 19th, May 20th, 2023, with several events throughout the downtown area. Organizers of this event are requesting approval of the attached temporary traffic order and a waiver of special event and licensing fees associated with the event. The event was approved by the Special Events Review Committee at their March 1st, 2023 meeting. As shown on the temporary traffic order, the organizers are requesting to close Canal Street during the event and hold a welcome mixer on Friday evening, May 19th. Samples of specialty coffee, beer will be given out at this event. IDs will be checked, wristbands will be issued and checked, and no one will be allowed to leave Canal Street with alcohol. A representative from the event is present tonight if we have any questions. So right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to approve temporary traffic order 2023-04 for the New England Coffee Festival as presented, to allow alcohol consumption on city property in the designated area only, and to waive special event and licensing fees associated with the event. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. And I can't wait. Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing with this. This is really amazing. Item number 21C, Resolution 2023-11, request to submit a grant application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency for a Laconia Hazard Mitigation Plan update. If awarded, request is to accept the amount of $11,999 through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. These funds will be used to cover the costs associated with updating the City of Laconia's 2017 Hazard Mitigation Plan. It is recommended that a municipality updates its hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. The city's share of this grant is 10%, or $1,333.30. This grant acceptance is recommended. The grant acceptance is recommended to update the City of Laconia's response and mitigation strategies for natural and man-made hazards. Report I just read was submitted by our fire chief, Tim Jubert. A series of 3 motions. The first is to waive a reading of Resolution 2023-11 in its entirety and to read by title only. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 5 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Second, looking for a motion to move a first reading of Resolution 2023-11 relative to authorizing application and acceptance of a grant application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency for a Laconia Hazard Mitigation Plan update. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. And finally, looking for a motion to move to schedule a public hearing on April 24th, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Littman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Moving on to item number 22A, under unfinished business. These are, we had a public hearing earlier this evening in regards to proposed changes to the city's solid waste ordinances in support of the conversion to automated solid waste collection. Kirk, would you be so kind as to lead us through this?
Sure. So the reason this is in front of you tonight is, August of 2020, this council's been working on our conversion from manual to automated solid waste pickup, curbside pickup. Throughout multiple meetings and votes, you've come up with essentially what is in the ordinance that we've put together tonight. Before we can go in and change the ordinance, that needs to come back in front of you for approval, and that's why we're here tonight. If you'll note on the front of the staff report, there are 6 items that are the biggest changes in the ordinance. Most or all of them have been discussed at one point or another. What it's going to do is allows us to have our own the city-owned cans. One of the biggest ones that have come out of that is the third bullet down, which is the properties with dumpsters won't receive curbside pickup of solid waste and recycling. And that was one of the ones that it was discussed, it was presented through to the businesses, but is one that I've had a couple questions on since this ordinance proposal has been out. So what we're looking for now is for you to approve the ordinance changes so we can get this into ordinance form. All the cans have already been ordered. We're working through the process. I know my office and DPW have received phone calls with questioning. A lot of it's been related to the elderly or disabled, how they can adjust their can sizes. We've helped them out, and it's been moving pretty smoothly. Wes can probably talk if there's any other questions he's been getting. That's probably the one we've been getting in our office the most. So that's why we're here today, and that's why we need this so we can officially put it into ordinance form.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Absolutely, yes.
I just want to get one clarity. On apartment buildings, I have a lot in my area, okay? I think it's a maximum of 4 containers,
Correct.
Correct.
okay? Four of the
Yeah.
trash containers, and that's the maximum, no matter how many people or how many apartments.
How many apartments, no matter how many apartments they have, the max they can get is 4.
Okay, and if not, then they gotta go to their own dump so that they take care of it.
Or get private service of one shape or another.
I just wanted to make clarity on that, just to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Cheney.
I just wanted to ask, and I probably should know, but it says eliminate remote recycling. Can you explain?
Okay, back when we had the 4 sites.
Yep.
And we eliminated them, the people had the option of not putting their recycling out, bringing it to one of the remote recycling points. They actually still have that option to take it up to the transfer station, because it doesn't cost anything to bring recycling in. But because everyone's getting a recycling cart, you don't need the remote recycling anymore. Because the reason why that was put in, because it was mandatory for everybody to recycle. So they gotta,
But how about the cardboard thing behind yours?
that's still, they still have the right to, yeah. The only thing that changes is because it was previously mandatory and they had to purchase their own carts. Now we're giving them, so they don't need that piece anymore, because it's automatically, they've got the ability to do it.
Counselor Cheney, you have a follow-up?
I'm sorry, but we can still take cardboard?
We still
behind-
prefer you to take the cardboard.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's all thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can we still take recyclables to the landfill?
Yeah, you still take recyclables to the landfill. You don't even have to have a dump sticker. You just have to something that shows you're a city of Laconia resident or business or something.
Thank you.
Any further questions for, go right ahead.
So we had a gentleman speak tonight about that difficulty in terms of how they're gonna place. What is our plan for addressing that?
They're gonna have to shovel out an area in their sublawn to place their cans, or they'll have to put it in their driveway to do it. I mean, that's really the only option. Certain of the wider streets, you have plenty of room to do it, and you can put it out in the street without any issue from that standpoint. But it's just something we're gonna have to work through as it regards to
That
snowstorms.
problem exists now.
Correct, it does. Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess, I don't think someone would come out and spend part of their night to join us if they didn't think it was gonna be a problem over where, it was not gonna be a problem of what they're currently experiencing. That's why I raise it. The second thing I have a question on is, it was a surprise to me to hear about, you know, the issue of eliminating service to landlords and to some businesses that have fastidiously, you know, put out their recycling and it's been picked up. I just want to make sure that you feel like you've communicated that to them and that, you know, when we flip the switch on this, people are going to come running to the council saying, we never heard about this.
I can't guarantee that. I mean, we've done our best through the newsletter and through talking with the downtown people on it, but I can't guarantee
What's
that.
defined as your best, I guess, was what I would like to know. What did that involve?
Basically, it was in the newspaper, and it was in it's been the Laconia Links, and it's been out a couple of times to the downtown group. 'Cause
Could we
those are the ones
send a
I've
letter
emailed.
to those businesses that are going to be eliminate services and those?
We could, I mean, from that standpoint,
That would be
but
maybe the best.
So,
I'm concerned honestly about a lot of blowback here, Mayor, in terms of, you know, I understand the policy decision's been made, and I'm not trying to push back on that. I just feel like there are implementation issues that need more work.
yeah.
And I know that you probably can't delay it any further, but I'm concerned sitting here that our phones are gonna be ringing off the hook about how this program is being implemented.
So there's a huge hole here.
Right.
And it's in the communication side. We have a pretty good list for the links. It goes out every week. Handful of people read the newspaper.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're missing a whole slice of the demographic out there that doesn't get the links and doesn't read a newspaper. And that's what I'm concerned about. I don't know what the city has for a social media presence that is only dedicated to city usage for stuff like this. I mean, that's where most people are getting all of their information, and we're missing them. I think it has to be more robust, whether it's the social media, which you better ramp it up pretty quickly, obviously, if you're gonna do it, or radio. Something needs to be done here to keep, because I agree with Councilor Lippman. You know, we have really good plans. You know, when we were doing a lot of work on Court Street, we had really good plans, except we didn't convey the potential impact to those businesses there in such a way that they felt like they were in the know. It was sort of sprung on them. They felt surprised, they were angry, and many of them rightfully so, because there was a breakdown. And I really think we should go back and look at this communication plan, because this is a big change. And, you know, and I bumped into a handful of older women in the lobby last week. And it was great that they were here looking at the sample bins, but they had a lot of questions, they had a lot of concerns. And anyway, I think this is, best efforts better be extraordinary efforts to communicate this, and just my 2 cents.
And I'll be
on
honest, Public Works,
How
we
about-
don't do social media because I don't have the staff to maintain it.
I get it, but you understand
Right, I understand entirely.
where we are in this
You can't
period
walk
of
away
time.
from the problem, though, sir.
I understand entirely, but
It's-
we're short-staffed, we've always been short-staffed, and so we do the best of our ability based off of how many people I have.
If I'm,
And-
I don't find that answer acceptable to the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, number one, there's firms in town, talk about, I have a couple of questions, but firms in town that are marketing type firms, that if we went to them and said, do all on social media for us, we could contract that out quickly. Secondly, we should probably take that pamphlet and a letter to go along with it and send it to every taxpayer we have in the city. Now, I realize that some of the homes are not, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Did
Yeah.
every, did every
We sent
household
it,
got one of these?
we sent it to every address that was authorized to collect curbside service.
Okay.
That doesn't address the businesses and
But-
people
I
who
understand, I
lose service.
But from the social media points, we have marketing firms in the city that we can contract with that get on that. I don't wanna hear an excuse, it's short staff trying to hire more people. No, there's firms that we can contract with to get it done with, I think. That's, I understand the short staff.
I think my office can look into a more robust social media. I mean, we do get the links out, which is a high volume. We did have the meetings, with I think we did 4 or 5 different public outreach, and we did get some of our higher user group, units down there, the apartment buildings and stuff. So it was a positive in the business and, multifamily route. We certainly didn't get everybody. And we have worked on some of the PSA stuff that we've been working on is actually more to address some of the winter stuff, so it's not necessarily time constraint right now, but this is somewhere that we didn't, we had hit what we thought we needed to hit. We haven't really addressed much of a social media presence.
When's this
so-
go into effect? I'm sorry.
1st of May.
A prime example, Mr. Mayor, is what some of us received today as an email from the city manager concerning upgrading the water on Summer Street, okay? And I can see, there was a real communication breakdown there, okay? And I'm not saying there is in this case, because I can see all, like you talked about, Mark, that was all sent out to everybody, but I just don't want to see us run into another issue.
I could pick up that pamphlet and say, oh, I'm all set. Oh, except I've been putting out 12,
I
my
understand.
apartment building, and all of a sudden they only gotta pick up 4. Does the card say that? No.
So we're about 20 days away from
Correct.
to effect. Feel good about it?
Best as we can do. So,
The best is not good enough, I'm sorry.
this is going to be a hard situation.
We're making it harder on ourselves, I'm sorry. I have to say this, I'm really disappointed in terms of the campaign that's been put together to inform those who are gonna be affected by it in a very major interruption of the service they've been getting. We need to do better. There's no excuse, really. I really don't need to hear anything more from it's really a point to the city manager. It's your department that needs to clean up, pun intended.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Kirk. Okay, so what we have before us right now are a series of 3 motions. First is to waive a reading of ordinance 2023-194.2, 194.5 in its entirety, and to read by title only. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's opposed, or where are you?
I'm supporting it because we have no choice at this point.
Okay.
I'm not.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Second motion to move a second reading of ordinance 2023-194.2, 194.5, relative to proposed changes to the city's solid waste ordinances in support of the conversion to automated solid waste collection as presented. Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Go right ahead.
I guess I would like to hear from the city manager, hearing what you heard from the council, what are you gonna do to make a difference in the communication here, because it's inadequate.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think about what we want to do for a plan to get out more communications. We did get out a lot, obviously not enough. So we can continue to address that. I gotta talk to Wes. We'll look at, I can even look at what the start date was and see if we have any flexibility in there. Not sure we do, but we'll take a look and see if we have some flexibility in that. So it gives us more time to get the continued messaging out.
If I could,
Hold on, let him finish, go right ahead.
so if I can make a couple suggestions, there's a landlord-tenant association that exists in Laconia. I think they have their offices on
Church Street?
Is it Church Street?
Church
Street.
Yeah.
Have we gone into their office and talked to them to see if they could make a communication? Have we gone to the downtown or the restaurant association? You don't have to make this such a big project. I think you gotta get to the right spots and look at the types of people that you're affecting and see what types of group associations you can speak to. And, you know, I really, it could be a technically perfect program and be incredibly flawed for the citizens of Laconia in terms of how it comes off.
Counselor Felch.
So yeah, I agree with Henry. Getting out to these associations and different groups that have anything to do with that, landlord association, which not all landlords are a member of, but it will help. But also, the city has social media. We have a police on social media. We have fire. We have different departments, Parks and Rec. Get it out on all of our social media venues that people follow at least one of them, I guarantee it, so.
Counselor Susie.
I know when we first started this, we said that communication was the biggest factor. And we asked over and over again to make sure there's plenty of money there for communication. And I don't want, I just don't want to hear somebody come back and say we don't have the funding or something for that. We should just go do it. Okay? I think-
But, I think like any, if I can offer my 2 cents on this, like any advertising campaign, you've got to use multiple media to touch people, and you need to touch them multiple times. So, if you've got it in the budget to have a nice tight radio ad that plays continuously now to the end of the month. Full page ads on the back of Laconia Daily Sun, something that looks colorful and tells people what to do. We're sort of in triage mode right now because we've only got under 3 weeks now. And then the social media presence, I don't know how you ramp that up in the course of 3 weeks. But I would suggest that if there are some vendors here in the city that could help in that regard, now may be the time to do something. Go right ahead, Counselor.
And I think also the follow-up communication, citizens may have issues like the one that was presented to us tonight. How do they know that the solution that they've come up with solves what they need to do to get their trash picked up? Do they find out by it not getting picked up, or can they do something proactive to assure that their accommodation of the change leads to them being picked up? I guess, what can people do proactively? Who can they call if they've got an issue, to make sure that, they don't wake up on a Monday, Tuesday, or whatever day their trash pickup is, and find out, in a 98-degree day that they no longer have trash service and they gotta hold, a bunch of garbage in their home.
If they're in an apartment building, they should be getting a hold of their landlord, because the landlord is one that's ultimately responsible. I'm not trying, taking things
No,
there.
I'm not speaking of a landlord. I'm talking about an individual homeowner in this instance.
And we do run into a few of those issues. Now and again, my office gets the call. We usually direct them over to DPW. Maybe they missed it because of a snowstorm, missed it because some reason, and we try to work with them. So certainly we don't want to have to do that all the time, but we do work with our residents quite often on, to correct issues like
To
that.
me, you need someone designated who's got the customer service skills in communicating with people to support them and working through that issue. Hopefully, it's a very small number of people, but what happens if it's 300?
It's like you need an ombudsman just for this project. And they also have to be the person who has the skills to take that information in when people might be a little steamed. But also say, okay, well, we'll be back next week for the trash. You can't do that to people. I think I think it's almost like you've got to send a truck out and take their trash and coach them up. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what we'll do with issues that come up. That's happened, and we do address those on a
We
case-by-case
can't-
basis.
We can't approach this as sort of a binary approach to this.
Right, and when those issues, I mean, not necessarily that issue, but we've had trash pickup issues where it doesn't happen, and we don't tell them, see you next week. You know, so we do take care of
Just
those.
can't do that.
Yep,
So I
we
think
don't.
we need to be prepared
Yep.
to, when those complaints come in and something hasn't gone just right, that we are willing to put people out on the street in a truck, go to that residence, wherever it is, of that business, take care of it, but also prepare them for what it's like going forward, so they get it right. So, and that's gotta be, we can't equivocate on that.
No, I agree, and I think we know that, you know, certainly if we can do better with communications like on that, we can. But we understand that change is hard on everybody. Whether you understand what's happening or not necessarily, change is gonna be difficult, and, you know, we're certainly, you know, prepared and looking forward to working with anybody who has questions, so.
So I think when we come back here on April 24th, I think we're gonna wanna see what's been done and what you're planning to do for the next, say, at least 6 weeks as we roll through May and people start to understand what the change looks like. And so that would be what I would look for in the next
We
meeting.
can take care of that.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. We do have a second. Would you like to speak? Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could have Casella have a second person on these trucks for the first week or two, and if, say, the trash can's not in the right position, straighten it out, it's gonna be picked up, but also leave a note on the can telling these people why or what was wrong. You know,
It's a
we could
great
spend
idea,
the
yeah.
extra money to
How
have
you
that
coach-
extra
That's how you
person on
coach
the
people
truck.
up, right?
Right,
It's a
exactly.
big change,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we really gotta be really sensitive, and we gotta go above and beyond on this communication and how we bridge this transition period. Any other comments on this or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion that's on the table, please indicate by raising your hand. For aye votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, looking to move to approve ordinance 2023-194.2, 194.5, relative to proposed changes to the city's solid waste ordinances in support of the conversion to automated solid waste collection as presented. It's a mouthful right there. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. That concludes our agenda this
Oh,
evening.
it doesn't? You were gonna let me talk to the fire chief for a moment, if I might.
Oh, you know, we ripped right through that. Chief, do you have just a moment? Thank you.
I'm sorry to hold you up this long, chief.
Well, I feel.
And I know you were
feel it.
here about the
You know,
grant thing, but I understand you're short one deputy. Is that correct?
Correct. So since I've started, we haven't had a fire prevention deputy chief, so we posted it a couple times and had reviews and had attracted some talented people, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But unexpectedly, we had someone in-house that became interested and is qualified and is super talented. So we're gonna move forward this one individual. So pretty excited to say that now the fire prevention deputy chief's position is gonna be filled starting next week.
And the reason I ask those questions, Mr. Mayor, is we all received the email about his senior staff's pay differentials and whatever, and I guess my question to you, Chief, was the difficulty
yeah.
filling? I'm sorry?
We shouldn't be talking about that. It's a personnel matter.
That's right, that's a.
Okay. Sorry, Chief.
So,
Thank you.
so we're happy to say that the position, very excited, is gonna be filled by a quality person.
Congratulations, the work that's going on over there right now and how you've improved staffing
Yeah, thank
levels,
you.
so.
Thanks, I'm pretty excited. We have a great group of people, and hopefully we can sustain it and move forward with it.
Good. I'll express our appreciation to all of them and you as well, okay?
Thank you, absolutely.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:36 PM.